Dan, why don't you jump on this one here?
Fannie Mae reports that a housing market confidence drop.
All righty, good show.
Hey, what's Open Door doing, Ray? I love doing that for Matt. I hope he grabs those and does like a 30-second be more
30-second chop. So we'll release that in a special limited edition on the Instagram for all you influencers.
Yeah. By the way, here if you do want that story, it's over on Housing Wire. But yeah, Fannie Mae is saying that housing market confidence drops, and it is both in buyers and sellers. Buyers more than sellers.
I mean, that seems like also a no-brainer story at this time. Whenever you don't know what's going to happen due to the election and stuff like that, it's still above the 50%, right? Which is what they look at for builder confidence. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's a relatively newer story, but it's 11.5 points lower than a year ago. So it's at 80 points now, and it was at 91 something a year ago.
Worldwide pandemic, 11 points lower. That's pretty good still,
and still pretty confident. And more than 50% of the people on the buy and the sell side are saying it's a great time to do either. So.
I know we don't have time for this, and I'm not a smart enough man to get it. I'm sure I'm from Alabama. But what is the home purchase sentiment index? That sounds like one of those studies that somebody made up because they needed a grant written and funded.
There's also home builders.
Home builders sentiment is what we cover most of the time. We don't usually cover the home
arbitrary number they made up to sell something, guaranteed.
I mean, they always sell this data, but it's basically how people feel about potentially buying a house.
Remember that part where they said find an agent that knows what they're talking about? Use those two guys there, because I have no clue about it.
It's those. So when you're a stats driven person, it's one of those stats where you're like, well, actually, home builder sentiment is up, so we should be seeing more new construction. Or it's one of those, and they made a whole report about it. But that's why we currently want to know what Open Door is doing.
That's right. But before we get into that, Melissa Marr brings up a good point. She says, can we just get Be More Karaoke to happen? Oh, this is a great idea.
Yeah, it's actually called Be More Okie. Just like a good whiskey.
We're going to find a way.